Welcome back to Bermuda Grass Central. Today we're going to do this $4 soil test kit. This soil test kit is from Ferry Morse. Alright. And we're about to go ahead and try this $4 soil test. Never done it before, but you've seen it live here on Bermuda Grass Central. And this should give you, it contains a pH balance test, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium test. Now, before you open this up, take a picture of those vials so you'll know exactly which chart matches up to which vial, so you get the right results. Okay, so let's get started. Changing the world 1 yard at a time. Okay guys, a couple of things you need to know. First of all, I got me a little mason jar here that I'm gonna use for my soil samples. And basically, in a quick rundown, this first vial that you get right here is for a pH balance test. You actually do that separate from the other three. The other three, you actually put the dirt in here. 1 part dirt, 5 parts water. Shake it up, and I have to let this sit out for about 10 minutes with the sunlight hitting it, but not necessarily in direct sunlight. So we're gonna go ahead and actually do that first, so I can go ahead and wait those 10 minutes out. And while that's waiting, then we'll go ahead and do the pH. Now the pH one, you actually put the soil in the vial up to the first fill line, then you fill the rest up with water, and then you add the capsule that's in it. If you look, all 4 of those have capsules that we're going to put in those vials to get the results. All right, so let's get started. Okay, yard fanatics, there's nothing scientific about this. I'm in my bathroom actually, and here's the jar with 1 part dirt. So I got to fill up 5 parts water, which means roughly somewhere around here. Okay, once I do that, then I'm supposed to shake it up and let it settle. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. You don't have to add hot water, cold water, lukewarm will be just fine. So I'm just gonna fill it up, 5 parts water. Now it's about 5 parts. That's about 5 parts water to that dirt ratio. Like I said, this is an old mason jar. I'm gonna put that lid on there. All right, tighten that up. Make sure it's tight. Like I said, I'm trying to do this with 1 hand because my cameraman is nowhere to be found again. All right, let me pause that while I tighten it up. I got it tight. I'm gonna agitate it. That should be good. And we're gonna let this sit outside with sunlight hitting it. You don't have to put it in direct sunlight, but they do recommend that sunlight is somehow touching this mixture here. So let's go sit it in the sun. Okay guys, I got this sitting out here in the sun. And you'll see the dirt will probably try to settle to the bottom, and all those twigs and all that stuff will float to the top. But don't worry about that, because we're gonna use something to get the liquid soil sample out of there. Okay, so we'll check on this in about 10 minutes. Now let's go back to that pH. Okay, yard fanatics, look, this is the pH vial. I got it up to that first fill line. I don't know if you can see that, but it has 4 little lines on here. And I got it up to that first fill line. That's the first one, second one, third one right there, 4th one up there. Now it's saying add that capsule. Now, keep this in mind. I took that capsule apart, and that's the residue that's on the inside. That's the cap. Don't try to pull that capsule top off, because more than likely it's gonna go everywhere. That's why I kind of did it over this paper. So I'm gonna crease this paper, pour those contents in here, put the cap on, shake it up real good, and it says wait for about a minute to get the results. So let me go ahead and do that. Guys, I poured the residue in there, and you can see it's kind of like a chalky color sitting on top of the dirt. Now I'm gonna fill it up with water to that fill line right there, and then we'll shake it up. Yard Fanatics, I got it up to the fill line, and I'm gonna get a little shake there. Look at that. It's already creaming up. You know, you don't have to shake it for 3 hours. Just give, 10, 15 seconds to shake. And we gotta wait. Well, I wanna make sure all the dirt is off. Yeah. And we gotta wait about 1 minute for the results. So we'll check on this in about a minute. Okay, Yard Fanatics. I did this soil test on the pH range. And if I hold it up to the sunlight compared to the pH chart, which is right next to, you see it's a light green. All right, so it's saying it's around 6.5, 7 neutral, somewhere around there, 7 neutral. So knowing this basically tells me that I don't need to add any lime to my particular soil. A lot of people say, well, what's the best pH range for a Bermuda lawn? And that depends on who you ask, but most will say anywhere from between 6 and 6.5. If it's at 7, I wouldn't be too concerned with it, but you could add just a little lime. Don't add lime if it's up there. You can add some gypsum, and that can help bring your lawn back into the pH range. If you don't know what gypsum is, I have a link in the description on a video I did about that, and that would help bring it back into a more acceptable range. If it's way up there in the 8 or all the way down here in the very acidic, then yeah, you're gonna need to do something. If it's down here at the very bottom, you're gonna need to add lime. If it's up here, then gypsum will help bring it back down within that medium range. But I'm just gonna be honest with you, most of the lawns that I've done over the years have always been in the neutral range, especially Bermuda. If you're doing fertilization, if you're not adding any fertilizer, then yeah, it may be out of whack. But that's the result on that. So let's jump into this nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and let's see if that actually works. But like I said, this is a $4 soil test by Ferry Morse. So I'm be honest with you, I'm impressed so far. So let's see what the other results may bring. Okay, Yard Fanatics. As you can see, we're about to do the other 3. Now you do these different. I'm actually going to get some liquid, and if you're wondering what this is, no, this is not a drug needle. This is a turkey basting needle. You do what you can with what you got, and we're going to use this to extract the water from that right there and put it into these vials, and then we pour the capsule ingredients into the water, shake it up, and then we let that settle, and then we'll get the results. A note: these are not dissolving capsules. You don't put the whole thing in the water and shake it up in hopes that it dissolves. You have to take them apart, and you're gonna have to be real careful when you do this, because like I said, that stuff goes everywhere. Make sure you don't get these wet before you actually apply the powder in here. That one looked like it may have gotten a little wet. Not sure what happened, but that's basically what we need to do next. So let's go ahead and do that. Guys, it's the same thing here. Try not to so much disturb this when you're extracting your liquid. And I'm trying to go there, right there in the middle to get my liquid out, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and try it, and we'll see how this works. One right there in the middle. That's not working. Hold on, guys. Okay, Yard Fanatics. We did that one already. These are the other 3, which is the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potash results. Now it says I'm supposed to wait about 10 minutes for these other 3 to get the results. I have to let it settle. Also a note that when you're using water, it also recommended that you use distilled water preferably, which means it's not necessary, but that's what they recommend. So we're waiting on these results. I can feel a little bit more action out of this phosphorus one. Whereas for I guess the dirt settling. Got a little bit more dirt content in that, so going to be kind of looking at the top part. And the one that's nitrogen, it's just, it hadn't done anything yet. So we're going to give this about 10 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll check the results. Okay, yard fanatics, we are back with this Ferry Morse soil test, and I've let it sit there for about 10 minutes. Well, it's actually been a little longer than that, but as you can see, that stuff started to settle. Okay, the nitrogen one, I'm assuming it settled, but it's the whole container looks like it's just solid dirt. But I'm thinking that's the chemical. And as you can see, that one on the end, that pH balance, we already did that one. So we're gonna check the other ones here. We'll start with this one, and what we do is put it up against this chart. And actually, I'm gonna leave it right there, and I'm gonna try to put the chart behind it. Like I said, if you look at that pH, it is almost like it's that alkaline, but if you hold it up to the sunlight, it's actually that neutral color. Now, the nitrogen, just by looking at it, it's saying that my nitrogen is high. So what that does is basically tells me that when I go by my formulation for nitrogen, I don't have to get like one that has 30, 32. I can stick to the mid 20s or even the teens if I want to. But that's what I'm getting from reading that. Now, this one is a little tricky. That phosphorus says very low. If I'm looking at the colors, very low. And actually, that's a good thing if you're not going to overseed. If you're overseeding, you will have to get a fertilizer that has some type of phosphorus in it. But if you're not overseeding, phosphorus generally stays bind up in your soil for a while. If you're going with an organic fertilizer, more than likely it's going to have a taste of phosphorus in it. I used Mill Organite last year. This year I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm going with a Let's Go synthetic, just to see what the results are going to be. So right now, reading that color wise, it looks like it's saying low. And the last one, it's kind of fell over here. I'm gonna stand it back up. The last one is the potassium, and like I said, when I do potassium, like I give you an example, I might use a 24011 or a 2409, something like that. I don't want my potassium to be super high, especially not right at this moment. Come springtime, I'm not really concerned about a high potassium level. The only time I'm really concerned is when we get to June, July, and we're not getting any rain at all. And my roots may get ready to go through some water droughtage, if that's a word. And I want to strengthen it up with potassium, but always, you know, try to get a fertilizer with a little potassium in it. But yeah, this is basically the end of this, and I just want to see if this soil test, $4 soil test, was any good. And yeah, to my surprise, I mean, it's decent, you know. Now, I don't think I'm getting the exact scientific results because of my measurements may not been exactamundo. So that's why I'm gonna see if the UGA soil test is any different from what this one is saying. But there you go, guys, that $4 soil test from Ferry Morse. And if you're wondering where I got it from, I think I purchased this one from Home Depot for $4. And once again, you are tuned into Bermuda Grass Central with BYD. This is Michael Bowman, and I will talk to you soon.